Your baby has been awake for way too long. You can tell because they are rubbing their eyes and pulling at their ears and getting fussier by the minute. They need sleep. But every time you try to put them down, they resist. Not gently, they fight it. And the longer they stay awake, the harder it gets. Which makes no sense. The more tired they are, the harder it should be to stay awake, right? But with babies, the opposite happens. And the reason for that is one of the strangest things about how the infant brain works. Most of us assume sleep is simple. You get tired, you close your eyes, you drift off. But for a baby, sleep is not simple at all, because the system that controls when and how you fall asleep is not something you are born with. It is something your brain has to build from scratch. Deep inside your brain, there is a tiny cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It acts as your body's master clock. It reads light, tracks time, and tells your body when to release the hormones that pull you into sleep or push you into wakefulness. You rely on this clock every day without thinking about it. But when your baby is born, this clock does not work yet. It is present from around the middle of pregnancy, but at birth it is functionally immature. It cannot read light signals properly. It cannot regulate the cycle of day and night. Your baby is not choosing to be awake at 3 in the morning. Their brain genuinely cannot tell the difference between 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. And it goes deeper. One of the most important jobs this clock does is trigger the release of melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it is time to sleep. Your brain does this automatically every evening. But research has shown that the infant pineal gland cannot produce melatonin in a rhythmic pattern until around 3 months of age. For some babies, it takes even longer. So for the first weeks and months of life, your baby's brain is missing the very chemical it needs to fall asleep and stay asleep. This is not a flaw. This is the timeline of human development unfolding exactly as it should. But here is where it gets remarkable. Even though your baby's brain cannot produce its own sleep signal yet, it has found another way to receive one: through you. Studies have shown that breast milk changes its composition across the day. Milk produced at night contains significantly higher levels of melatonin. Milk produced during the day carries more cortisol, the hormone linked to alertness. Scientists call this chrononutrition. Your body is not just feeding your baby, it is sending time of day information directly into their bloodstream. You are programming their internal clock through every nighttime feeding. But the missing clock is only part of the story. If this is already changing how you think about your baby's sleep, take a second to subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you know a parent who needs to hear this, send it to them. Because there is something even more surprising about why your baby needs sleep so desperately and yet seems to resist it with everything they have. In the first year of life, your baby's brain doubles in size. New neural connections form at a pace that is impossible to comprehend. And the engine behind most of that construction is not what happens when your baby is awake. It is what happens when they are asleep. There is a phase of sleep called rapid eye movement sleep. In adults, it takes up roughly 20 to 25% of the night. But in newborns, REM sleep makes up nearly half of all the sleep they get. That is not a coincidence. During REM sleep, new synaptic connections, the tiny bridges between brain cells, are actively sorted. Some are strengthened and made permanent. Others are pruned away. Researchers have demonstrated that REM sleep selectively prunes newly formed dendritic spines while simultaneously strengthening the ones that matter most. Without REM sleep, nearly all of those new connections fail to survive. The brain does not just need sleep to rest, it needs sleep to build itself correctly. During the day, your baby's brain absorbs everything: light, sound, touch, faces, movement. It forms connections at an extraordinary rate. But forming them is not enough. A brain with too many unfiltered connections would be chaotic. So during REM sleep, the brain goes through its work and makes the hard decisions. It keeps the pathways that were useful and removes the ones that were not. This is how your baby's brain goes from raw and chaotic to organized and efficient, not through stimulation, through sleep. So if sleep is this critical, why does your baby fight it so intensely? The answer lies in one of the most frustrating biological traps in early development. When a baby stays awake past the point where their body was ready to sleep, their brain registers the extended wakefulness not as tiredness, but as a threat. And when the brain perceives a threat, it does not shut down, it activates. The body releases cortisol and adrenaline. These are not sleep hormones, they are survival hormones. They raise heart rate, increase alertness, and push the body into high activation. This is why an overtired baby does not look tired. They look wired, fussy in a way that nothing can soothe. This is not a second wind. This is a stress response. The cortisol suppresses the already limited melatonin in your baby's system, making it even harder to transition into sleep. The longer they stay awake, the more cortisol builds up. The more cortisol builds up, the harder sleep becomes. Your baby is caught in a cycle where the solution they need is the very thing their own chemistry is blocking. From the outside, it looks like a battle of wills. On a biological level, your baby is trapped. They are not resisting you, they are stuck. This is why timing matters so much more than technique. It is not about the perfect lullaby or the right swaddle. It is about catching the narrow window when your baby's body is ready for sleep, but has not yet tipped into the cortisol response. Miss it by just a little, and the entire hormonal landscape shifts. But there is something even deeper behind all of this, something wired into the human brain for hundreds of thousands of years. For most of human history, a baby who fell asleep alone did not wake up. That is not a metaphor. There were no cribs, no nurseries. There were predators. A baby left outside the reach of an adult at night was exposed to threats that could end their life in minutes. So evolution built a response. Babies who cried when put down survived. Babies who stayed quiet did not. Babies who woke frequently, who demanded closeness, who refused to be left alone in the dark. Those were the ones whose genes made it into the next generation. For thousands of years, this was not a problem. It was a solution. Now fast forward to your nursery. The predators are gone. The walls are solid. But your baby's brain does not know that. The alarm that fires when your baby is set down alone in the dark is the same one that kept human infants alive on the open savanna. It does not update based on where you live. It runs on ancient code. And that code says one thing: alone in the dark means danger. Cry until someone comes. This is why your baby calms down the second you pick them up. Not because they are manipulating you, because your arms are the signal that they are safe. Your heartbeat, your warmth, your smell, these tell your baby's nervous system that the threat is gone, that they can let go and fall asleep. So the next time you find yourself in the dark holding a baby who will not close their eyes, hold two things in your mind. The first is science. Their circadian clock is still under construction. Their brain cannot produce melatonin yet. Their nervous system may have tipped into a cortisol response, blocking sleep. And their survival wiring is telling them that being alone is not safe. None of this is your fault. None of it is theirs. The second is something harder to measure. That baby in your arms is building a brain. Right now, in the middle of the chaos, their neurons are forming connections that will shape how they think, how they feel, how they love. And the most important ingredient in that process is not the perfect schedule. It is you, your presence, your patience, the fact that you keep showing up even when you have nothing left. You are not failing. You are the foundation. What is the one moment during a sleepless night when you looked at your baby and something shifted inside you? When the exhaustion faded for just a second and something deeper took its place? Tell me in the comments. And if you have ever wondered why your baby stares at your face like it is the most important thing in the world, the next video will show you what is actually happening behind those wide open eyes. It is more powerful than you think.